Morning, guys. Good morning, good morning. On this last stream for the year. That's exciting. Um, just while other people hop on, so today's our last stream. I had to put a due date on this homework assignment, so it's technically due on Monday, even though we're not going to have any new content and it's kind of the end of school for the most part. Unless you have things to make up, which is also fine because you have tons of time. You have this last 2 weeks of school to get in contact with me about what you guys need to do. I think obviously, I think it's the people who are not here, mostly who will be using that. But yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind. And if you are missing any homework assignments or you want me to open something up again, I'd be happy to do that. Okay, good to know, Sage. Okay, we will go ahead and start then, and they can join us whenever. So through these last like 5 homework assignments, we have gotten through like most of the ACT. I didn't have time for one more, and if we did one more, then it would have been the whole ACT, but it's okay. We don't care that much. We got a lot of practice, so it's been good. So number 1 on R-5. It says evaluate s plus t times r minus q when s is 5, t is 6, r is 3, and q is 9. So all we're doing here, guys, is just plugging numbers in. Hi, Jeanette. So for s, hang on, s plus t, r minus q, that's a g, q. S is 5, t is 6, r is 3, q is 9. This is 11 times 3 minus 9 is negative 6. So negative 66. Okay, so I think that we've also done this one in class. The 6 consecutive integers shown add up to 273. What is the value of x? So this feels like really weird, and all of the x minus and x plus things look really complicated, but really they're not. All they're saying is that this is some number, x is some number, and then x minus 1 is the number before that, x minus 2 is the number before that, and then up is the same. X plus 1 is the number after, x plus 2 is the number after that one. So we just have a big list of numbers that come after one another. Consecutive, that's what this means. Consecutive means that they just come after one another when you're counting. And so we're trying to, of course, we could guess. That would probably take longer though. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to use these like expressions they already gave us, the x minus and x plus things. And since we're adding all of them up, we can actually solve for what x is by just adding this whole string of things together and making it equal to 273. So I'm just going to start with x minus 2 plus x minus 1 plus x plus 1 plus x plus 2 plus x plus 3. You can put parentheses around everything. It makes it clearer what you're doing. I'm not going to because I want to be able to, I already know that I'm going to have to combine a lot of things, so I don't want like parentheses to make me feel like I'm not going to be able to combine things. So that's what we're doing. So to combine like terms, remember we can only combine things that are the same. So I'm going to combine first all of the x terms, which I have 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, 6x's. 6x's. And then we can also combine minus 2, minus 1, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3. So if you were to type that onto a calculator, you would end up just getting 3. You can double check that for me. But negative 2 and positive 2 cancel each other out. Negative 1 and positive 1 cancel each other out. And all we have is plus 3 at the end. 273. And now we just solve this. Easy as pie. We're going to take away 3 on both sides, and that'll give us 270 equals 6x. Then we'll divide by 6 on both sides, and x will equal, I'll do that in my head, hang on. 270 divided by 6. 45. Which is D. Notice that on this question you do have all of the answers too. So if you wanted to do it, instead of doing it algebraically, you could just try all the answers. That would narrow it down significantly. And it looks like all the answers are pretty much in a row, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. So you're not trying too many different things. Okay, I don't know where my email is. Okay. I forgot what I was saying, but yeah, D is the answer. 45. Number 3, what is the length of the hypotenuse of a right triangle with 2 shorter sides measuring 9 meters and 6 meters? Okay, so we are talking about a triangle. They're not giving us a picture because they want us to make a picture. So it's a right triangle, so I know it has a right angle. And then they're asking about the hypotenuse, and it says the 2 shorter sides. The hypotenuse is always the longest side of the triangle, so I know that the 2 shorter sides are the legs of the triangle. So I'm going to say this is 9 and this is 6, and we're wondering what this is, which just is Pythagorean theorem. Hopefully you recognize that. Right triangle stuff is a lot of times, it's either trig or Pythagorean theorem. So the 2 legs, 9 squared plus 6 squared, equals the hypotenuse squared. And 9 squared is 81, and 6 squared is 36, equals x squared. 81 plus 36 is 117? 117, I think. I will double check that. And then you would square root both sides, and x equals the square root of 117. I'm not even going to check because that's the only one that's close to that one, so we're going to go with that. C. Notice that they didn't want the decimal there. They just want the square rooted version, which is fine. It's less calculator work for us. What number is this for? Okay, number 4. For all triangles, all triangles ABC where side A is longer than side B, which of the following statements is always true? So this goes back to, I'm pretty sure we learned this. Again, I get confused between the other class I teach, and I know we did it in that one. But the angle opposite the longest side is always the biggest angle, so which makes a lot of sense if you start thinking about it. Like if we have an angle here that's a small angle, the side opposite that angle is going to be small. But if it's a big angle, wait, let me draw the small angle. If it's a giant angle, the side opposite is going to be really long. So I'm just going to write out what we're saying. We're saying that the side opposite a large angle will be long. Not be long, but it will be long. It's a long side. And the side opposite a small angle will be short. And it actually works perfectly. If an angle is bigger than another angle, we know that the side opposite that angle is going to be bigger than the side opposite the other angle. So what it's saying here is that the A is longer than B. So that's the biggest side. We know that then this angle is going to be bigger than this angle, which is across from a shorter side. So angle A is going to be bigger than angle B, always, which is C. Yeah, it has to be bigger. It's not, it can't be this one either because it's bigger, that one says bigger than or equal to. If the two sides were equal, that means the angles are also equal. But the two sides are not equal. One of them is longer than the other one, which means that the angles can't be equal. So we can't pick that one. Okay. Number 5 says, what is the value of t? So here we have a right angle, right? And it's split into two pieces. We have one piece that's labeled t and one piece that's labeled x plus t, 10, x plus 10. And what they're asking for is t. So I'm just going to write an expression here. I know that both of them added together have to be 90 degrees because that's what this annotation means. That's what that means, right? They're complementary. So I'm going to write an expression that says x plus 10 plus the angle t have to equal 90 degrees. And it's asking for the value of t. So the problem here is that we don't know what the value of x is. So we can't get a number for t, but what we can get is an expression. So I'm just gonna get an expression for t by moving everything over to the other side so that all we have on this one side is t. We're just gonna get t by itself. That's our goal here. So I moved x, and now I'm gonna move 10. Which gives me 80 minus x equals t. And hopefully, let's see. Okay, good. 80 minus x is an option here. It's got to be whatever angle x is, you would subtract it from 80 to figure out what t is. Whew, I'm tired today. Number 6, which of the following is the graph of 8x plus 9y equals 5? Okay. I have no idea what that graph looks like because it's not in like any form that I recognize, like slope intercept or point slope form. So I'm just going to change it to y equals mx plus b. I'm just going to switch it around just so I can tell what's happening in this line. So I have 8x plus 9y equals 5. What I need to do is get y by itself so that it's y equals something. And I think by doing that naturally, I will get a slope and an intercept. So first I'm just going to move the x term over here. That goes away. And then we have 9y equals 5 minus 8x. And then the last thing we need to do is divide by 9 because we want y all by itself completely. That, of course, gives us some ugly numbers, but it's okay. We have 5 over 9 minus 8 over 9x. And we can further change the direction of this just so that we have slope first, because we usually do, and then the intercept second. So this is a slope down 8 over 9, right? And then this is a intercept. And what I'm going to do is plug in that into a calculator just so I can see the decimal form of that so I know. 5/9 is just a little bit over half, which I guess we could have told from the fraction, but it's a little bit over half of 1. And then, so let's look at for a graph that has a negative slope first of all and a y-intercept that's about half. This one has a y-intercept that looks right, but it's a positive slope, so that's a no. This one has, okay, this one's looking better. Positive, it has an intercept of about 0.5, approximately. And then it looks like, let's see. Do we have room? If we go down 8 ish, and over 9. Wait, this and over 9. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm just checking to see if a slope of down 8 over 9 would make sense on this one. So I think that's supposed to be an 8 and that's supposed to be a 9. I think that my answer is going to be B, but let me just make sure that none of the other ones work. This one's a positive slope. No. This one is a positive slope also. That's a no. This is a negative slope, but it has a y-intercept of 5, which is not what we want either. So yeah, my final answer is going to be B. These graph ones always take up like 9 pages. Trig! See, I told you it comes up in like every one of these assignments. We've seen one trig one at least. Last time's trig one was really hard, but this one isn't as bad. Because it's asking just for the height of the tree. So it's giving us this triangle and it's asking us what this side is. It gave us the hypotenuse. So we have to remember our acronym here to remember the trig functions and what they give us. So we have from our angle, remember the reference angle is important. From the reference angle, we have the opposite side and the hypotenuse. So we have O and H, which means that we should be using sine. Yeah. So sine of our angle, 37, is the opposite over the hypotenuse. So that would be H over 15. Notice that our answers are not in decimal form. They're just like not quite solved already. They're like not plugged into a calculator, which is nice because we don't have to do that. All we have to do to solve this is to multiply by 15 on both sides. I don't like that they labeled the side that we're using as opposite H because that's confusing me, but it's fine. 15 times sine of 37 equals H. Look at that. 15 times sine of 37. So really, notice that the only thing that you had to really check was what trig function you would need to be using, because technically, once I was like, we need to use sine, I could have picked that answer out of all of them, right? Oh no, there's one that's not that way. So we would have to keep going, but that's okay. Yeah. Number 8. Okay, so I know for a fact that we talked about this one, but it was a long, long time ago. So this one says, which of the complex numbers graphed below has the greatest modulus? Which is like a lot of numbers are hang on, a lot of words that are confusing, right? Complex numbers and modulus. Rarely do we ever see complex numbers graphed in the first place. I don't know. I mean, we talk about it briefly when you learn about complex numbers in like 10th grade, but hardly ever do we use it. And then modulus is another word that I don't know, like I don't know. I'm pretty sure I had to look it up. So anyway, modulus, like the first time that we did this problem, modulus just means that the distance from the origin. That's what all that means. So let's put that. Modulus is just the distance from the origin. And the origin is here. So literally, complex numbers are numbers that are mixed numbers. They have some real part and some imaginary part. And then they graph them according to the real part and the imaginary part. So they go left and right according to the real part and then up and down for the imaginary. So literally though, you don't need to know that, because all we really need to know is what modulus means, because that will give us an answer. We need to figure out which one is the furthest away from the origin. All of these are about the same, and then there's B way over there. So clearly this one's the furthest away from the origin, that has the greatest modulus, which gives us this answer, B. I think that they do that on purpose. They give you a question that has a bunch of vocabulary that if you know only one of the words, you can like answer the question. Um, Number 9, for some real number a, the graph of the line y equals a minus 8 times x plus 8 in the standard xy coordinate plane passes through 2, 14. What is the slope of this line? Also, a lot of stuff. It's just saying that, like, okay, we have like sort of a function here with like a missing part, which is a. And this is like the slope of the line, not that that's really important, but the slope is a minus 8. We don't know what a is. And then it just says it passes through the point 2, 14, where 2 is the x and 14 is the y. You might remember that when we are checking to see if something, if a point or if a line passes through a point, you just plug it in. You just plug in the x and the y and see if it makes a statement that makes sense. That's all we're doing here. We're just going to plug in x and y into this function and then solve for a. Because since we know it goes through that point, we can solve for the missing part of the function by just plugging it in and seeing where it goes. So y is 14. A minus 8 times 2 is the x plus 8. So to multiply 2 times these parentheses here, we're going to have to distribute into the parentheses. So that gives us 2 times a minus 2 times 8, which is not 28. 2 times 8 is 16. And we still have that plus 8 from the outside, and it equals 14. Negative 16 plus 8, I'm just going to combine these two normal numbers. Negative 16 plus 8 is negative 8. And then I'm trying to get a by itself, so I'm going to take away, or add 8, sorry, add 8 on both sides so that that goes away. 14 plus 8 is 22. Yeah. So, sorry, I'm going to have to move over because I ran out of page. So that gives us 22 on the other side and then 2a. Look how nice that is. We have to divide by 2 now. And that gives us 11 equals a. So our missing part in this function was 11, which is not one of the answers. What did I do? Did I copy it down wrong? 14 plus 8. That's weird. Oh, it asks what the slope is. Stinking ACD. What is the slope of this line? It's not asking what a is, it's asking what the slope is. So we did actually need to know that this is the slope. This a minus 8 piece is the slope. So a minus 8, which is the slope piece of the function, is 11 minus 8, which is 3. So the slope of the function is 3. Almost got me. 3. At least 11 was not one of the answers. That would have been rude. I would have definitely got that wrong. Look at that, we're on the last one already. Nice. Making good time today. Okay. What is the least common denominator of 7 over 18? Okay, wait. 7 over 18, 5 ninths, and 1/4. 4. Okay. So remember that when we did fractions, I taught you sort of a technique to find the least common denominator. Because, okay, we could just multiply them all together. That would be a common denominator, but it's not the least common denominator because there are some common factors in each of them. So what I do to do this is I break each denominator number apart into its smallest factors. Like I kind of do a factor tree. So like 18 is 9 and 2, and 9 is 3 and 3. So 18 becomes 3 times 3 times 2. And then 9, 9 is just 3 times 3, and this one's 2 times 2. So basically our least common denominator is going to just be able to have all of the different factors, but we don't need to like, okay, basically we need 18 to go into it, 9 to go into it, and 4 to go into it. We need all of those things to go into it, which means that it needs to be able to fit all of these different groups of numbers inside of it. So we definitely need at least a 3, and a 2, because that's what 18 is. And then 9 fits into 18 nicely because 3 and 3, we already have 3 and 3. We already have a pair of 3s. So 9 already goes into our number. But then we have 4, which is almost goes into there, but we need another 2 for 4 to go in there. So notice that we have our first denominator is 18 right there. Our second denominator is 9, which is right there. And our third denominator is here, 2 and 2. So all of them like fit inside of our number now. We just need to figure out what 3 times 3 times 2 times 2 is, which is just 9 times 4, which is 36. So our least common denominator is 36. Of course, you could also try each answer and see if make sure each denominator goes into that number. It might take you longer though. It's up to you though. And surprisingly, that was number 10. We didn't hit any like really bad ones today, which is interesting. But hey, we deserve it. It's the last ACT homework. Okay. Again, this is my last stream for us. So if you are missing homework, contact me about it. Or if you're just unhappy with your grade, we can work on it together. I'm really excited for school to be back to normal next year. Also, if you have questions about like signing up for math classes next year, I do know a little bit, and the stuff I don't know, I ask Miss Blige. So if you do have questions about what's going to be available or what you feel like would be best for you, just message me on Google Hangouts or email me or something, so I can help you with that. And if you perchance are studying for the ACT by yourself and need help with some questions or something, contact me. I'd love to help you. Oh, Sage asked me a question. I do like comics. And it definitely depends on the genre of horror specifically. Like, fantasy horror is cool, specifically. But I don't like blood and guts just for the sake of blood and guts. There are comics that do that. Yeah. Is that everything? I think it's everything. Let me know if you hit any snags with your homework. And again, technically this is due on Monday, but just finish it as soon as possible. Anyway, have a great rest of your Thursday, and good luck finishing with all of your classes. I will see you sometime, I'm sure. Bye.